Hey everybody, it's Kinda Burnt. I'm Kinda Burnt. I don't know how long this one's going to be today, I'll be honest with you. I'm currently fighting a vaccine sickness from having taken both a flu vaccine and a COVID booster, and I'll be honest, I'm just not feeling too great today. But I figured it would be a great time to talk about this because what better thing to do while you're feeling sick than catch up on movies? My wife and I did not go to the premiere of this movie, given that the reviews tended to be bad and we were just kind of broke at the time. But I figured it'd be a good time to talk about Black Adam for a lot of people who have not yet seen it, who are waiting for it to come out on HBO Max and digital on demand. For those who are not in the know, this is part of the now defunct DCEU, or colloquially, some people still refer to it as the Snyderverse, although we can argue about the distinctions of that all day long. This was a big movie for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson that he spearheaded, something that he's been trying to get made for almost 15 years now. Due to various setbacks, contractual agreements, different things that he was trying to get made. Suffice it to say, it took him a long time, but he did eventually got what he wanted. Originally, for those who aren't aware, he was supposed to be the main villain in the Shazam movie. But because he liked the character so much and wanted more creative control, WB and DC eventually relented and gave him his own movie. It would take about a decade to make, but now, here we are. As I said before, the reviews were not great. Although audience scores tended to be higher, reviews for the movie itself did not tend to be very well on the critical side. And for that, among other reasons, my wife and I just chose to steer clear. Even though we tend to like things that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is in, we just weren't for sure how invested we were in the DCEU anymore as a brand, as a franchise, as an ongoing continuity. And I feel like a lot of people are on the fence as well. They don't really know exactly where they sit, if it's worth the personal investment of their time. And quite frankly, I don't blame them, given the way that the DCEU was handled. A lot of people are on the fence, a lot of people are unsure. You couple that with bad reviews, and well, that can account for the dismal numbers that the movie ended up having. It went well below expectations, and because of this, and the changing of the guard to James Gunn and Peter Safran at the new DC studios, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has since stopped following Warner Brothers and DC on social media, which seems to be the quietest middle finger he can give them after the disappointment he suffered. So, is the movie any good? Are the rumors to be believed? Is it everything critics say that it was? I've got to be honest, I didn't hate it. I actually had a good time. I will say, the first half of the movie is pretty fun. It's nothing really to write home about. It feels very much like a late 90s, early 2000s superhero movie. So it feels a little dated in that regard, but almost in a fun, nostalgic way. But as the movie goes on into its latter half, you start to see that it's dragging. I would say it almost becomes exhausting, to the point that all the fun that it nurtures and all the goodwill that it nurtures in the beginning sort of starts to wear thin. And there's a lot of fun to be had here. There are a lot of fight and action scenes, so much so that my wife had to point them out. That's like, there's just so many fight scenes. And to some people, that will be great. I, for one, am always looking for more fight scenes in superhero movies. I'm a fan when I get more than I expected. But it does get in the way of development. It does get in the way of the characters and characterizations and just overall making you care. It's a big cast. You don't really care about many of the people involved unless you're super empathic. The movie does very little work in that regard. Are there likable characters? Sure. But we learn very little about them. And using my wife as a litmus test, these are characters she doesn't know. These are characters she doesn't really care about. And in the 2-hour plus time frame that she has to get to know them, she just walked away not caring all that much. I will say, I was very happy to see the likes of Hawkman and Dr. Fate finally make it to the big screen. That was really cool. It was really fun to see those characters realized in a live-action way, and in a really cool, gratifying way. To a lesser degree, it was interesting to see the Justice Society again on the big screen for a change. I was maybe missing the classic lineup and maybe missing a few of the original members and stuff, but it is what it is. but the villain is really weak. The story is very bare. There are some interesting little subversions to the origins of Black Adam and interesting little nods to the Shazam mythology. There are attempts to tie it into the greater DCEU in general. It does some things right. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was a disaster top to bottom. The production value was good. There were quite a few moments where I chuckled. There were quite a few moments where I was enraptured in the action, but it's not a very strong movie. It's sad to see that a movie that took this long ended up not being nearly as engaging as it could have been, especially when you had so long to tweak it and make sure that the script was strong and the story was strong. The voice of the movie was strong. It is a shame to see it just kind of fall short. I won't say that all criticisms of the movie were deserved, but I can definitely see where people were coming from on this movie. And walking away from it, it can't help but feel a little pointless now that we know that this version of the DC universe on film is going away. And what should have excited me at the end, I don't think it's really a spoiler at this point to say that Henry Cavill's Superman shows up. It's very sad in retrospect. It leaves you with a very hollow feeling. It does not live up to expectations, and it does not make you feel really all that excited about the future. It is just a movie that exists. I'm sure there were people that are going to get a lot out of this, but I'm not one of them. I don't really feel the need to ever watch it again. I also think the movie doesn't do itself any favors when it is constantly trying to endear to you the coolness of its main character, whose main quality or aspect is that he kills people, and trying to make this distinction of he kills people when other DC characters do not, even though in this version of reality we have a Batman that very clearly, if doesn't kill people outright, just doesn't care about the sanctity of human life. It's one thing for the movie to sort of make that distinction or make that argument to its audience a few times. It's another thing entirely when they keep having it over and over throughout the movie. At one point, I just kind of screamed at the screen like, okay, we get it. You kill people, and you're going to keep killing people. I think somewhere in the messaging there is lost this greater idea of American interventionism and how maybe the movie is having this commentary of America only shows up to right the wrongs going on in a country if it benefits them in some way. But even if there was a salient point to be made there, it gets lost in the sort of nonsensical, repetitive, redundant messaging of sometimes people have to die. And Black Adam is cool because he kills people. I think when you repeatedly beat your audience over the head with something like that, even if it's a different point entirely, with not a lot of grace and not a lot of tact, you end up having a movie like this that sort of just outlives its welcome. It's sad because I can see where it might have had something important to say, but eventually, by the time it gets there, like, do you even care? I don't know. I thought it was fun while it lasted, but I think that there are much stronger superhero offerings out there. And overall, I think the movie is a sort of time capsule for this version of the DCU and sort of a cautionary tale on what not to do about certain things like this. Like, it came so close to being a decent, good, enjoyable movie, and I think it could have shaved off a few things in order to do that, and maybe workshopped a few other things, but mostly it's just a C effort. I think there's some stuff to enjoy, but I don't even think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's posturing and charm and charisma is going to be able to save it. Well, the writing is on the wall. We know it didn't save it. And we're getting a brand new DC universe on film, so we have that to look forward to, and this to sort of relegate to the past. It's sad that the DCEU ends on this sort of note, but as I've said, the entire DCEU / Snyderverse was built on bad ideas and perpetual damage control. I think the best thing we can do at this point is to look forward to the future where James Gunn and Peter Safran have a Bible and an outline and a plan. Hopefully, history will prove me right. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like me to do more like this, please like and subscribe, hit the bell, tell your friends, your family, your dog, whatever. I guess I will see you later. I think I'm going to go lay down because I'm awfully tired. Until next time, friends. Burn out.